Our next panel will be addressing mental well-being, thriving, not just surviving. Black women uplift families, communities, and movements, but who cares for us? This panel explores mental wellness, emotional resilience, and self-care as empowerment. Experts will share strategies for managing stress, breaking generational cycles, and prioritizing joy. Walk away with practical tools to set boundaries, nurture well being, and reclaim your peace because thriving is our birthright. This particular panel will be moderated by none other than Miss Naja Amatullah Hilton, MA. In literature is a writer, speaker, and storyteller amplifying Black voices. With over a decade in education, she blends history and culture to inspire. She has written for the Black Wall Street Times and co-authored Opal's Greenwood Oasis. A poet and spoken word artist, she penned The Risk to Bloom and Dangerously Absurd Spaces and co-authored the Fire in Little Africa curriculum. Her work has been featured at Factory Obscura and Norman Music Festival. Please give a round of applause to Naja Amatullah Hilton.
Thank you all so much. I'm going to introduce my panelists to you. First, I have Dr. Renelle Bracey-Lewis, DO. Dr. Renelle is a double board certified psychiatrist specializing in adult and child adolescent mental health. A Houston native, she earned her biology degree from Prairie View A&M and her medical degree from OSU. She completed residency and fellowship at the University of Oklahoma, where she was chief resident. Founder of Be Well Psychiatry, she provides holistic care to patients aged 5 to 65. She is also a wife, mother of 2, and caregiver to her mom. Welcome, Dr. Lewis, Dr. Renelle. And next, we have Dr. Danielle Miner, LPC. She is a licensed counselor, licensed professional counselor, and founder of Aspire to Breathe, creating mindfulness spaces for BIPOC communities. With 15 years of experience, she specializes in trauma-informed care, helping women heal through mindfulness and therapy. She has worked in schools with families and now in private practice, expanding access to mental wellness through meditation and workshops. Welcome, Dr. Danielle. And actually, before we start with our questions, we're going to structure ours a little bit differently, where I'm going to ask questions and they're going to answer just as they see fit. We're going to flow a little bit. But before we do that, Dr. Danielle would like to lead us in a little activity.
So I'm going to invite everybody to just take a moment and pause and do a body scan with me. Everything that I'm offering is an invitation. Take what works for you, leave behind what doesn't. So I'm going to invite you, if it feels okay, to close your eyes. Otherwise, softly gaze at the ground in front of you. Leave behind the busyness, your plans for later on, any worries you might have. And just focus on your breath. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs. And slowly exhale it out your mouth. Release any tension or stress you may be holding on to. And just be in this present moment. As you continue to breathe, feel the sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body. Noticing the coolness of the air as you inhale and the warmth as you exhale. Let your breath be your anchor to this present moment. Now shift your attention to your body and begin relaxing your forehead and letting go of any tension you might be holding there. Allow your eyebrows to soften. Feel the muscles in your face and jaw relax. Let go of any clenching in your jaw. And just be. Now shift your awareness to your neck and shoulders. Notice if there's any tightness or discomfort. And with each exhale, release that tension, allowing your shoulders to melt down your back. Notice any ease, any spaciousness, any relaxation that might be spreading through your upper body. Now bring your attention to your arms and hands. Become aware of any sensations you may feel. Perhaps you notice the weight of your hands. Maybe the fingertips touching each other. Just notice what is without any judgment, allowing yourself to be in this present moment. Now shift your awareness to your chest and belly. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your breath as your lungs expand and contract. And as you breathe in, imagine that you're breathing in a sense of calm and peace. And as you exhale, let go of any stress or worries that you may be carrying. Feel your body relaxing with each breath, becoming more and more at ease. Now bring your attention to your lower back. Notice any sensations or areas of discomfort. And with each exhale, imagine that you're releasing any tension that you're holding, allowing your back to soften and relax. Now bring your awareness to your legs and feet. Notice the weight of your legs against the chair. Notice the sensation your feet is making with contact with the ground. Let any tension in your legs or feet melt away, as if it's flowing out through the soles of your feet and into the earth. And take one more moment to scan your body and notice if there are any areas where you still hold tension. And send your breath to those areas, expanding them, softening them, inviting in relaxation. And as we near the end of this practice, bring your awareness back to your breath, feeling the gentle rhythm of your inhales and exhales, allowing a sense of calm and peace to expand in your body. And know that you can carry this feeling of peace and relaxation with you as you go about your day. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes if they were closed. Take a moment to just look around, coming back to this space. And carry this sense of calm and peace with you as we continue.
Thank you so much, Dr. Danielle. I don't know about y'all, but I feel better. Good. Okay, so again, as I said, we're going to do this a little differently than the last panel. So I'm just going to ask the question, and they're going to answer as they see fit. So the first question says, many Black women carry the weight of not only their personal experiences, but also the unhealed wounds of those who came before them. Can you speak to how intergenerational trauma manifests as prolonged stress in our daily lives, and how we begin to disrupt that cycle in both our minds and bodies?
So I just want to give the term to what Dr. Chapman was talking about earlier, and that's called epigenetics. We had no clue that she was going to be talking about that today, but I'm so glad that she did, because what epigenetics is a super long, big word, right? But all it means is things that are affecting us right now, like the environment that we live in, our diet, whether we exercise, how we tolerate our stress, impacts our body at a cellular level, right, at a DNA level. But not only that, but the effects of our ancestors, right, affects what happened to them, also affects us at a cellular level. So we carry the previous traumas in our DNA of our ancestors. And so partly, of course, racism, right, slavery, but then also on a DNA level, we're still impacted by what our great-great-great-grandmothers went through in slavery. And not only that, we also carry, unfortunately, the traumas of our grandparents and what they went through Jim Crow and all the different systemic racism that we've even encountering today. And so that really blew my mind when I learned that in residency, like, the connection of the dots of, oh, wow, is that why I feel like I'm always hypervigilant? Even when I'm walking into the store, my head is on a swivel because I'm like making sure, right, the times are the times that they are, but also just not feeling safe, feeling like we're being watched or feeling like we're being followed, or like that's a thing. And so it's not all gloom and doom though. So I'm saying this, I'm prefacing this, but the truth is that there are things that we can do to help shift our bodies. And what we just did was practice using our parasympathetics. I don't know if anybody's eyes were open, but I yawned about 4 times. And that was my parasympathetics getting activated. And that's me training myself to learn how to regulate my nervous system. And that's something that if you take the time to practice, it can really help not only shift your emotional responses, how you're connected to your body, but also it's something that will be modeled for your children as well. So that begins the change of the impacts of that. And so where they got that from, I did a little research. I was like, where did we find out about epigenetics? So there was a study, a study done, it was the Dutch hunger winter study. They had a big famine in the beginning of or after World War II, and they studied the descendants of pregnant women who were exposed to stress and the famine conditions, and what they found was that the children had higher rates of physical and mental health issues, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, increased prevalence of breast cancer, and then also higher risks of dementia, anxiety, and depression. And so it's really important that we start to shift and practice, right? It's a practice, it's an intention, maybe even 1 or 2 minutes a day of trying to work on activating your parasympathetic as opposed to always living under fight or flight, survival mode.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Right before you answer, Dr. Miner, I would just like to make a connection between the panel that just finished and this one. As Dr. Rennell was talking about epigenetics, I've heard, I'm not a reproductive doctor, but I've heard that we as an egg were not just in our mothers, we were also in our grandmothers, right? So when you're thinking about this cellular level impact, the reason it affects us on a cellular level is because we were there for it, not consciously, but cellularly, right? Go ahead, Dr. Danielle.
Yeah, so just expanding on what Dr. Lewis said, that it does change our body, it changes our DNA, it changes our children's DNA, but with practice, with mental health care, with social connections, we can start changing our nervous system, which will change our children's nervous system. And this is why I work with so many women, because I really believe that if, as mothers, as caregivers, if we are taking care of ourselves, if we are changing how our nervous system responds, right? We're not always on, we're not always hypervigilant. We find our baseline, we are able to connect to safety and relaxation in certain spaces. If we can do that, we're gonna interact with our children, with our loved ones, with our friends, with our communities in different ways. You know, I was thinking of this video that I saw where this mom, the caption was like intergenerational trauma. And her kid comes up and her kid's like, Mom. And she's like, what? And then she sits there and she keeps trying to say what in a different way. And I don't know if you all do that, but like my kid will come up. I'm not mad, but I feel like I'm on all the time. And then he says, Mom. And I'm like, what? And then it's like, what? What? Like it takes some practice because we're used to being on, hypervigilance. And so we have to practice settling our nervous system. And when we do that, then our kids learn and it starts rippling out.
Beautiful, thank you. This next question will give even more opportunities to talk about that, that calming of ourselves. So I have a 7-year-old and I'm a single mom. And so many of us, Black women, we feel that we are at the end of our rope, we're close to it, and we're expected to care for our loved ones, to work full time. I'm a teacher, I'm a writer, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm writing for the Black Wall Street Times, I'm showing up to panels and trying to look cute while I do it, and then I also have to sleep, and I have to eat, and I have to feed her, and I have to do, like, it just keeps going. We're expected to not only do it all, but to do it all with a smile and to do it all nicely. And I practice really hard when my child calls me to say, yes, baby, and I know that there's like a performative aspect of that, but I'm like working overtime to sound nice talking to her, even when I'm at the end of my rope. So, how does anxiety and depression show up in all of these ways that we're trying to kind of compensate? And why does it stick around so intensely in high-performing women like those of us? And how do we communicate our needs when we're stressed?
So I want to say that Black women have some of the highest rates of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress. And I really do feel like it is because of the role that we play in our society. I mean, we're constantly rescuing everybody to the detriment of our own well-being. And until we, start to recognize, like, when we take care of ourselves, we're just going to keep perpetuating this cycle. I think many Black women function with present with high functioning anxiety and depression. And that looks like you've got it together, you're organized, you're the planner, you're strategizing, everybody comes to you, but inside, okay, I got to do this, and this is next. And you're just spiraling inside. And we don't recognize that's anxiety. We say, oh, look how organized you are. Look how you got it together. You're the person I can lean into. But that's not healthy. You're on all the time. It's like running an engine in brake, with a parking brake on, and you're going to wear down. So, I think at least one of the strategies I like to teach women is knowing the difference between the glass balls in your life and the plastic balls in your life. So we're all juggling things, and discerning what those are is important. It might be that today your kids are the glass balls and you've got to keep them up in the air and make sure they're taken care of, but maybe your partner's the plastic ball today and you can just let fall to the side. Maybe the plastic ball is, okay, I'm going to get my kids McDonald's because I can't make that organic meal or whatever you think is important for your kids to have, because the glass ball is making sure that you get home so you can get them to bed, or even get home so you can do things for yourself. So for me, one of the biggest strategies is discerning glass balls between plastic balls. It's going to change, and it's okay that we drop the plastic balls. They will bounce.
Thank you so much. I love that, right? Glass balls and plastic balls. I'm going to keep that right up here. That's so good. So as Dr. Danielle, or as Dr. Rennell continues, I don't know, you don't have to raise your hand, but I feel like this space is an appropriate space for me to be like, I'm exactly who Dr. Danielle is talking about. Like, I've absolutely been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and like, as we may see online, people in general in the millennial age group and then Black women also are talking about how ADHD and autism show up differently in us, perhaps for the same reason that people are like, what do you mean you're anxious? You're doing great. And it's like, I'm doing great because I'm terribly anxious and I'm making sure I have everything together so that I don't drop the ball in front of anyone, right? And so, Dr. Renell, what do you have to add to those thoughts?
Well, hi, my name is Renell Bracey Lewis, and I have high functioning depression and anxiety and ADHD, and I found out all of this in therapy. And so there was a pivotal point in my life where I had finished fellowship and definitely experienced some racism on the job, which really shifted. I was just finished fellowship, got my first big girl job, and it just did not go like it was supposed to. And I was undervalued, I wasn't respected as a physician at all by my colleagues at the time. And so that forced me into entrepreneurship, which is a beautiful space, but also a really stressful space. And so when you have a lot of responsibilities, not only being a physician, but a wife, a mother, friend, daughter, everyone looks at you and it looks like you got it all together. But you don't, because when you go home at night and, when you're not fussing, when you're trying not to fuss at your children, when you're not well, they're not doing well, and that was reflected, and that's just the truth. But thank goodness for therapy, thank goodness for therapists, thank goodness that they have the patience to be able to sit with you and kind of work you through it, because I was diagnosed with ADHD at 35, right? That's crazy. I'm a whole child psychiatrist. Yeah, it was so bizarre. I was like, what? Girl, I do not have a, yeah. Oh yeah, you do. Dang, okay. So then it's like, I went through all of this. How did I make it this far? Coping skills, and then just finding a way to get through it. I don't know how I did it, but thank God he gave me the energy and the strength to be able to do it. But I wasn't doing it well. And thank God for medication management. Changed my life tremendously, not only with stimulants, but with antidepressants as well. And I just wanted to speak to the unfortunate realization is that we live in a westernized culture and everything is about productivity, and we got to get the work done, right? I've heard my supervisors in the past tell me that. It's like, I need a break. But the thing about antidepressants is that there was a study done, and they did a study, and that revealed this black box warning. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this black box warning that is associated with a lot of antidepressants, but I just want to give you some context, and it could help kind of understand where that came from. But there was a medication called Paxil, which I would never recommend any woman to take Paxil because it has a lot of adverse effects on female reproductive system. So that's never a medication that I prescribe women ever, personally. But that's what the study was from, and they found that at the beginning of the study, there was 2% of people that had suicidal ideation even before the study started. They started this medication, specifically Paxil, and then that increased from 2% to 4%. The FDA got concerned, right? 2% to 4% of people. So out of 100 people, at first it was 2, and then it was 4, right? But the FDA got concerned. They created this black box warning, and in the early 2000s, a lot of physicians, a lot of psychiatrists, they stopped prescribing them. And what happened? Suicide rates went up. And so that was the argument that, sometimes the treatment is better than the adverse effects of not treating or, really just not treating. So for me, as far as how do I maintain and take, my self-care really important, it was really what my therapist kind of did her best to try to get me on to, was like making time for myself. you know. And I hate Proverbs 31, but sometimes that is getting up early in the morning, right, to make time for yourself, because otherwise, you know, the day starts, it's like, what are we eating? I'm hungry. When you getting up? We got to do this. So, but the better I take care of myself, the better I take care of my body, the better I take care of my mind, the more present I am with myself, the more grateful I am about my life and what I have, and all of that is mindfulness. Just being present in the moment and not being in the future, which is, you know, anxiety, and not being stuck in the past, which is depression. And so, you know, those things help me tremendously. And then I see it in my children. When I'm well, they're happy, they're bebopping along, because I'm not like, sit down, be quiet. What? So, but it's really important for us to take care of ourselves and do our best to regulate our nerve. Take a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes to just be still, right? That's biblical. Be still. It's not for no reason. Your brain needs a break. We need rest.
Yeah, I want to just piggyback off of, like, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. And I think that's part of the issue, is that we feel so stretched so thin. And we keep thinking to take care of ourselves, we have to carve out an hour or two. And if you can do that, that's great. But it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It can be at every stoplight, you pause and you take 3 intentional breaths. My meditation teacher called it an instant meditation. You just pause, you know you're pausing, 3 breaths, express some gratitude that you paused, and you move on. I don't know what medical school did this, but they would have physicians, every time they touched a doorknob to enter a patient's room, to practice 3 Ps. Pause, be present, proceed. So if you're doing that, I don't know how many stoplights you come across, but I at least 10, 15, 20, maybe it's 30 seconds, maybe it's a minute. I mean, that's 15 minutes right there. Or if, you know, you can 5 minutes here and there throughout your day, do a little meditation. Or an exercise that I love is finding glimmers. So glimmers are the opposite of triggers. So we know what triggers do. They send us down a path that doesn't feel great. We feel anxious, you know, scared. It's just not a great experience. Glimmers are the opposite. So we're looking for these micro moments of joy, of gratitude, of, like, I love the hot pink all in here. Like, that's my color. And when I see hot pink, it just makes me, like, do a little dance. When we do that, it's self-perpetuating. So now I feel safe. I feel a little more expansive, a little more present. I can find more glimmers. The more glimmers I find, the more safety I connect to. It just keeps going forward. That's a super simple practice that we can do to help support ourselves. So again, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It just is intentional, like Dr. Rennell was saying. It's intentional.
Thank you so much. I'd like to continue on that train that we were on. You know, you mentioned getting your ADHD diagnosis and getting it late. It probably wasn't 6 weeks ago that I was on the phone with a friend and I was like, do I have autism? And he was like, maybe. And I was like, I don't know if I'm okay with it if I do. And he was like, why? And so talk to me about the mental health stigma that remains strong perhaps in our communities, and what barriers that keep people in general, Black women specifically, in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, from seeking help. We might have these moments where we're like, am I okay? But we are unsure or fearful or downright unwilling to kind of pursue that.
So I want to start with a statistic. 80% of Black individuals feel that seeking mental health is something to be feel shameful about. It's something that they're really concerned about, the stigma attached to it. 80%. So if Black women have higher rates of anxiety, depression, PTSD, and then the overall theme in the community is getting help is bad, there are so many women out there who are not getting the help they deserve to have. So I think that statistic is really important, because that's part of the problem, is that I don't know about you all, but I was raised with phrases like, don't air your dirty laundry, we don't have time for that, to dry up your tears, we've got things to do, it's not that bad, why are you crying? I get it. My parents are doing the best they could. I understand why some of that is connected to the strong Black woman kind of archetype, but it's a disservice in a way too, because you can be strong and ask for help. You can be strong and be soft. You can be strong and be vulnerable. You can be strong and talking about difficult things. Like, strong doesn't mean I'm not taking care of myself.
And as you were speaking, and Dr. Rennell actually reminded me of this a few minutes ago. I don't know if y'all watched Scandal, but the 7 or 8 times throughout the seasons when Kerry Washington is like, you have to be twice as good, that lives in my brain just all the time. Twice as good to get half as much. And so how does that even feed into this idea that we shouldn't have any problems, so therefore we shouldn't go ask for help for our problems, and other aspects of this?
Yeah, well, racism told us that we had to suffer in silence, right? We weren't allowed to have a voice, especially when we were in slavery, and that carried forward, right? We had to laugh in a barrel because we were too afraid to be too loud, to have a good time. And so these narratives, unfortunately, are still today. What stays in this house, what happens in this house stays in this house. That's dangerous. What if you were molested in your house? Somebody needs to know. And there was actually, I want to make sure I say this correctly, but Black women are 4 times more likely to have chronic illness because we don't vent, because we don't talk, because we don't process about what we got going on. And so what does that leave? Untreated depression, untreated anxiety, PTSD symptoms that'll never be addressed, or undiagnosed autism. And, girls, women, Black women in general, we're a vibe, and we mask so well. Like, nobody would ever know until I said, oh, I have high functioning depression and anxiety and ADHD. Nobody would ever know, because you look, oh, she looks so well put together, she's this and she's that. Well, yeah, but I'm a human being too, and so taking a moment to connect with yourself, connect with your body, and be honest with yourself about what's really going on in you, what are you feeling in your body, just taking that allows you to become more compassionate with yourself, and then also compassionate with others and empathetic with others. But it does start with the intentionality of focusing on you and working on whatever works for you, right? Because journaling may work for me, but it may not work for you. Deep breathing may work for me, but it may not work for you. Walking may work for you, but it may not work for me. We got to figure out what works for us. And it is trial and error, and it does take intention. But we can all do it.
We can. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I appreciate that. I want to make sure that I ask the best questions while also leaving time for some of y'all's questions. So if you don't feel like you need to add anything to this one, then we'll just move forward. Do y'all feel that there is a community approach that needs to be applied better to supporting Black women's mental health, as we were just discussing? Reach out for help. We're getting in therapy, we're erasing the stigma. Do we need to add anything about that community-wise?
Find and build a safe one.
Yeah.
Find people that you can trust. Find people that maybe are like-minded as you are, and let them, support each other. So I just feel like we got so isolated in the pandemic. And it was kind of hard to kind of reintegrate. It was kind of nice to work from home for a little bit, but now it's like I don't want to go outside. I don't want to be on the scene, but it's important, and I know that I feel better when I do. I feel better when I'm hanging out with my friends and seeking community that way, and they're supporting me, and I'm supporting them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely community, connecting. talking to your friends about the things that are bothering you, or a loved one, somebody who's safe for you. Because like the last panel mentioned, stress causes cortisol levels, and the more that we have over a long time, and stress is only supposed to be for the short term. It is not designed for long-term usage. That the more those levels build up, the more we end up seeing the diseases that they talked about in the last panel, because it's not good for our bodies. It's detrimental in the long run. So, getting connected to communities, exercise, and I know people hate when I say that, but there's so much research showing the benefit of exercise, being in nature. Actually, I think it was a Harvard study that showed even just listening to nature sounds is beneficial. So if you don't like bugs, or you're like me and you hate snakes, then turn on one of those channels on YouTube where it's nature sounds. I mean, like Dr. Rennell is saying, get creative, find what works for you, see it as an experiment, as a way to be playful, and find your joy.
Thank you. Okay, so second to the last question, what types of local resources are available for the women of Tulsa? Let's pull it local really quickly, whether that is meditation groups or things that you personally, individually take into your own practice. Either of you, both of you.
Aspire to Breathe is a company that I founded, and the goal is to bring and foster this community around mindfulness practices, and learning that mindfulness isn't, I think it's got kind of some myths built around it, like it's a religious practice, or it's being calm all the time. It's just a way of being. It is a state of being. And the state is trying to be present as best as you can all the time, present for the ups and the downs. And I think that's the other piece around it, is like, none of this is about like getting to a state where you don't have problems or you're always happy. It's figuring out how to stay on that roller coaster and know that it's going to end, and not be so reactive to it, just riding it out. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the mindfulness, the benefits of it is when you sit still and you can try to label the emotion that you have, not fix it. We're not fixing it, because it doesn't necessarily need to be fixed. We just need to realize and be aware and mindful of, what am I feeling? Oh, I am feeling sad. Why am I feeling sad? Well, I lost my job yesterday. Well, that's normal to feel sad. Well, how is that showing up in my body? And what do I feel? Doing those body scans, it can be so helpful, for sure. So just taking the time to give yourself a moment to connect with yourself is so powerful, so powerful.
Thank you. Just on Tuesday, my therapist taught me the word neuroception, and the way I'm always, it's part of that anxiety thing, always doing too much with my brain. And I just started meditation about a year ago. I'm about to hit my 1-year anniversary with this weekly group meditation. And thank you so much. And that idea that you just spoke to of not having to fix everything, it took that being repeated by the leader, I don't know, for 10 weeks in a row, for me to be able to actually say, I'm not a problem that needs solving. I'm not a problem that needs solving. Even though I've been practicing that, I said it just then and my little heart was like, are you sure? And it's like, yes, I'm not a problem that needs solving. And to notice the sadness or the anger or the frustration or just the fatigue. Like if I'm doing anything right, I'm proud that I've started just telling my daughter, now that she's getting older, like, I'm gonna go to sleep. If you need something, you let me know, but I'm just gonna go to sleep. And that's a lot, I'm tired and I don't have to push past it. I don't have to push through it in order to superhero everything for everybody, right?
Self-compassion.
Thank you, yes, absolutely.
And burn the cape.
Yes, let's burn them all of them, throw them out the window. Like I like the crown, but only when I want to put it on. I want to put it on and then take it off, and put it on and take it off. And so, any last things out of everything that we covered? Is there anything that you didn't get to say that you wanted to say that you want people to take away with them? Maybe even if they have a younger person in their life to share this wisdom with.
Just to hit the highlights of things that you can do, right? Because sometimes we're like, okay, yeah, y'all talked about this body scan, but what else can I do, girl? Because, that may not work for me. Deep breathing, and there's so many different ways to do that. YouTube can be your friend on that. TikTok can be your friend as well.
Absolutely.
Instagram as well. Grounding techniques. And people talk, this is so country, but walking outside barefoot is actually really good for your body.
It's called grounding officially.
It's called grounding, yeah, but the crazy part is it actually decreases your inflammation. And so, fun fact, what cortisol does is it increases, ultimately, I'm not gonna go through the whole process, but ultimately, it increases your inflammation. And so if you're in a high stress state, if you're always in survival mode, you're inflamed. And what does that lead to? Chronic disease.
And weight gain.
And weight
all
gain.
of that.
And, difficulty to lose the weight because your cortisol is through the roof. And so these techniques that we're saying help to decrease that. And that's what we're trying to impress upon you. Our mental health is so important. So important. Okay, so we talked about grounding techniques, walking around outside barefoot. It's okay. Put some socks on. Even socks are okay. You still get the whole process. I'm not gonna go through it, but yeah, I know it's country. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. Progressive muscle relaxation is something to look up. And that's just basically tensing up your muscles for 5 to 10 seconds and then relaxing it. All of them, your feet, your face, your hands, your shoulders, from head to toe. And that can be really helpful. I really like progressive muscle relaxation. Engaging your senses, aromatherapy, eating crunchy foods, listening to soothing music, anything that engages your senses, seeing, touch, hear, smell, taste, of course, connecting with nature, as we talked about, building community, and resting, right? Even God rested, so we can rest too, okay?
That eating one is so serious because you'd be like, I don't have time, and then you're starving, and then you're stressed because you didn't have time, and then you're like, and I just gained 10 pounds, so I'm not going to eat. But if you don't eat, it's going to make it worse. Go ahead, Dr. Danielle, sorry.
So I encourage you to reject this notion that you have to grind away to prove your worth. And so if that's something to pass along to future generations, I am not a fan of the idea of hustle culture, because to me that's just more of go, go, go. It doesn't encourage relaxation. It doesn't encourage pausing. It doesn't encourage being present. So reject this notion that to prove your worth, you have to hustle. You are worthy. You are worthy of rest. You have to do nothing to earn it. Just by birthright, you deserve rest. So that's one thing that I want to add. There is research that shows that the stronger connection we have with our culture, our ethnic identity, values, the more it helps kind of provide this Teflon layer against mental health conditions. So find your community, find your people who allow you to be you, who are willing to hold and support you when you're having those difficult moments. It's really beneficial to our well-being. I mean, we tend to talk about physical health and mental health, but social health is equally important. So think of it like there are 3 columns holding up a building, and so making sure you have those. And boundaries. Get comfortable with saying no. If you are tired, resentful, or angry, those are clear signs you need boundaries. So figure out how to say no. I know it's uncomfortable. I sit there with my clients and encourage them to say no, but it is a lifesaver when we can learn how to say no. And I promise you, the people you're saying no to will be okay. They benefit from you saying yes all the time. So practice saying no. If you have to say it in the mirror a bunch of times to get comfortable, say no.
How many minutes do we have for questions? 2? Okay. Thank y'all so much. This has been excellent. Thank you.
It's an honor.
Thank you for your attention.